Hello, my name is Mario Roman. I'm a retired police captain from the City of Miami Police Department. I was hired on September 28, 1981, and I retired in June the 2nd, 2015. Um, During my career, I was assigned as a uniform patrol officer, beats officer, and directed patrol, which is kind of like a little narcotics unit. Um, as I progressed, I became supervisor in the field, and then after that, I became a commander in the field, also a uniformed division. Then, during that time, I transferred to the communication section, which most people call 911. I also worked in CSI. I was a commander of CSI for a while, and then I transferred to investigations, where ultimately I retired from that. Afterwards, I transferred. After my retirement, I served approximately about 5 years as a reserve officer for the City of Miami. Ultimately, I resigned, and I'm now officially retired.
My name is Jose Trigo, and I've been in law enforcement now going on 40 years. I worked in the Miami-Dade Police Department. That's where I started. I was in road patrol. After that, I did investigation for a short period of time. After that, I went and became a school resource officer because they needed a young officer. So that's when the program was starting in the Miami-Dade Police Department. And after that, I kept doing community policing type endeavors, school resource, community resource officer, until I retired in 2017. No, correct, 2007, and to open up the Doral Police Department with Chief Gomez. There, I became a sergeant, ran the community service unit and motors, and then became a lieutenant in Doral. I left Doral in 2012. I thought I was done with police work. And then in 2017, I was dragged by a friend of mine who was the chief in Opalaca Police Department. And I've been there now for 7 years. I've worked in Opalaca, everything. I worked road patrol. I did internal affairs. I did background investigations to hire people. I did community policing for a short stint, and I've been doing investigation now going on 3 years.
Mario, how does your profession impact your view on death in general?
When it's my belief, I don't know what Mario thinks, but my belief that when you want to become a police officer, before you even uh, apply and become a police officer, especially after you actually become a police officer, you have to come to terms to the fact that you could die on duty. Because one of the things that you swear about is to protect life. And sometimes life requires you to give sacrifices. And it's more, you can see that, for example, in what happened in New York with the towers. Okay? The people who were running in to danger, knowing that they could die, were firefighters and police officers. So that's something we come to terms. We don't want it to happen, but it's something we come to terms and we work around it to do our job.
In regards to the issue of death and dying, while you while you're in the academy, you're introduced to the concept of what may happen, what could happen, and you accept it. Many of the folks that are entering into to the police service, fire service, military are relatively young. In my case, I was 20 and a half. And while you understand what could happen, it's really in the back of your mind. And like Joe said, a lot of times you see the videos and films, and you see people running one way in the cops and military running into the danger. That's something that you're trained for, and that's something that you do. It's just something that you do. Um,
Would you say it becomes something of a second nature?
it becomes part of you. It becomes very normal. I've talked to many people that ask me, "How do you do that?" And it's not something that you think about. You're focused on what you're going to do, what you need to do, and people that are in trouble. you're going to go in there and get them out of trouble, and that's
And
what you do.
right, and you're trained. Let's not misunderstand this. We're not there to be sacrificial lambs to go and die. No, we're trained to be able to survive situations like that. The thing is that when it's time to do it, you cannot be afraid of dying. That cannot be in your mind. You have to go. You have an operation and an assignment to do. You have to go in there and try to get it done. And death never comes to fruition as a thought when you're doing it. When you finish, sometimes you do think and you go, damn, this was really hairy. And that can come, it's normal to think about that. And then maybe think about how you could have done it differently next time. But no, it doesn't come to play when you're doing your job. It shouldn't, because then it becomes a danger to the officers. When they're thinking about danger, they're not thinking about the job to be done.
Got it. All right. And then, how does your profession impact your view on your death? So that's just sort of like a general overview of police and how they relate their profession to death. But have you ever thought about your death? And this can also play into a concept I just explained to you a little while ago off camera called the good death. Do you feel that the good death is something that you personally feel about your own death?
Well, I know that if I die on duty, my wife's gonna kill me. So I'm trying. I'm trying always not to die while I'm working. Listen, you think about it. I mean, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a good death. There isn't. The death happens. It's not planned by you. So it's not you're going there planning, I'm going to die, and this is the best way of me dying. No, you don't think about that. The only thing I can tell you is, and I thought about this very few times, but I thought about it. I go, if I have to give my life for somebody else, I would really be good with giving my life to save a child. Like what's going on in the schools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an active shooter, I don't think twice or three times to be outside. I'm going in to find them. And if I die to save children, that is to me the most honorable death that you can have.
I agree with Joe 100%. When it comes to people in dire need, children, really anybody that is in need of help, you're going to go in there. You're going to do what you got to do, and you know, I have to agree with him 100%. If it's a child, I would go and do what I got to do. Obviously, I'm going to try not to get shot or die in the process. But if it happens, it does happen, and that's something that I'm fully aware of and I accept.
Okay. And then on that same sentiment, in recent years, there's been sort of a rising anti-police sentiment. I guess you could say it maybe started with the George Floyd situation. Do you feel like that sentiment that's circulated through the country had any effect on your view of like that being okay with death if it's in the place of someone who needs help?
No, that's part of our job. What happened with George Floyd, it was regrettable. I don't know exactly. I don't Sunday morning quarterback what an officer does. I wasn't there. Okay. I know a lot of the things that are going on now are being over politicized by the media and by people who want to create that rift between police and the community. I am a community policing believer. My job is to bring closer the community and the police because we need the community to do our job. We're not a conquering army. Never have been. We go in there to help people. And we want them to feel that they can come to us and trust us and give us a benefit. When something happens, give us a benefit of doubt, because things are not always like it's portrayed. Now, if a police officer does something that's criminally natured, he has to pay the price like anybody else. But do not judge us by the actions of one. Okay? When you look at what's going on nationally, and also when you, a lot of it is being brought in by the mindset of young people that are being polluted by agitators that want to create their own agenda. Okay? Policing hasn't changed. Policing is policing. It will never change. The difference right now is that the cameras are in our face. And policing sometimes is not pretty. It's not. But that's why you pay us to do the job and not to be pretty at doing it. You want to be able to call the police and for them to respond and help you. If you don't need the police, people don't call the police. And it's funny. Everybody loves a firefighter. They love firefighters. Like, oh, the fire trucks is great. They go put out fires, no problem. Rescue cats, great. People don't like police officers because police officers have to make sure that people follow rules and the law. And sometimes, as simple as getting a ticket, damn cop, it was a ticket. It's fine. We know that. But as a means of doing our job, no, we're never going to change. Just because people hate us, we're not going to turn my back. If you hate me, that's fine. Call me when you need me. I'll be there.
George, the issue with George Floyd affected police forces all across this country, and I think around the world. One thing that has not changed, even right after George Floyd, with all the riots and everything, and like a lot of riots that we've had here, something doesn't change.
This is real
One
life.
thing doesn't change is that even after those riots or during those riots, there were people calling in for help, and they call us for help. Okay, when you call the police, usually you don't call the police for a coffee or to come over to have dinner. You call them at a really bad time in your life, something that's happened to you, something that's not right. So we respond to a lot of issues that are not very nice. Husbands beating wives, stabbing each other, you name it. At the worst times in many people's lives, people call the police. And sometimes when we're there to fix a problem, it doesn't come out as pretty as they'd hope. A lot of people have this mentality that they get from the TV. Okay, I'll give you a very good example. Yesterday, I happened to see an old clip of Adam 12. One Adam 12 is an old show that existed in 1960s, and something that I grew up with. And I looked up to these guys, and they stopped the car, and supposedly bad guys pulled out a gun, pointed at him, and they talked to him and said, "Hey, put the gun down and come out." The guys came out and they handcuffed him, and they said, "That's not very nice," something to that effect. In reality, when you're threatened with deadly force, you're going to return deadly force. If you pull a gun on me, I'm going to return the deadly force. Whatever comes out of that, that's the way it goes. We have a saying that a good day is when you go home at the end of your shift. Okay? We'll try to, the so-called diffuse. Everybody's an expert now saying, well, he didn't try to diffuse the situation, or he could have done everything better. When you say things like that, I sit and I think, well, you weren't in the places that I've been in, the situations that I have. Okay, so George Floyd kind of put a focus on a lot of what police do unfairly, because whatever happened with George Floyd, again, I don't know. I wasn't there. I've read some of the reports, and still to this day, I don't know exactly why things transpired the way they did. However, George Floyd was a really, really bad, it gave police a black eye. However, just like people ask the police not to judge them on race, on religion, on a host of other things, the same thing goes for police. Not everybody is the same. Not every situation is the same. Some end up prettier than others. Others turn out very ugly.
So you brought up religion, and something that a lot of people are curious about, seeing everything that you see in the field, you see the worst of mankind, Do you feel that what you've seen has affected your personal views, your personal religious views at all?
About the work?
Just your personal religious views. If you've seen
No.
how people behave, the darkness
No.
in people, has it changed your religious views because of that?
No. It's when it comes to me, and I believe this strongly. God, I'm Catholic. I don't go to church every week. Okay, I don't do that. But I have Christ is always in my heart. And growing up, my parents are Spaniards, so that was a very strong thing. I was an altar boy, so I did all that back in the day. Uh, but I do believe that God puts you in a position where you need to be sometimes to help people. I really honestly believe that. And if you believe, if you're a Catholic, you know you believe in angels. In police work, Saint Michael is the patron saint of angels. And who is Saint Michael? Saint Michael is the warrior angel. He's the one that keeps the devil from the gates of heaven. And that's what sometimes we are. We are the line between evil and good. That's what we believe in. You got to believe in something, and that's what we believe. And that's why, in many cases, we're not afraid to deal with evil. We're cautious and we'll do everything to survive the encounter, but we will not shy away from that encounter. That's what makes a police officer. Not everybody is meant, that's not a bad thing. Not everybody is meant to be a police officer. They're not. God, we need doctors, we need pilots, we need different people, for God's sakes. But the guys who are out there who make it a career, that make it a long career, and that work, and they have a family, and they come home every day and they try to raise that family. Those 10 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours they're out on the road, they're there to help the community. That's why they're there. And religion is, to me, it's important. You believe in Christ, and it is. But it doesn't perturb me from doing my job, you know? And the Bible says, you know, Christ said, when you get slapped, turn the other face. And police work doesn't work like that. We need to deal with the evil directly. We help people, and we turn our face for little things. People call us pigs. They even, I mean, it gets pretty bad, and then we turn the face for that because there's no need. But if you lay a hand on a police officer, it's going to be a bad day for that person. That's what we believe in. Don't do that. We're here to help. We're here to control the situation. We can do that by speaking, or we can do that by taking that person down in whatever way we need to neutralize and control that person. Period.
In my case, I'm a Christian, and entering police work, I wasn't particularly religious. I would like Jose. I was brought up in the Catholic Church. I pretty much went to Catholic school all my life, and I was even an altar boy too. But after school, I wasn't particularly religious. I went to church every so often on big holidays, funerals, weddings, and such, but nothing really solid. After being in police work a little while, my faith started becoming stronger because of what I saw. I saw many things that just really outraged me. Some of the violence, what drug use would do to people, to families, alcohol use, and just general evil. I do believe that evil does exist, and we confront evil every single day that you see out there. You have people out there that are predators, that are evil, and they will prey on anybody, or any child, any adult, any elderly person. And I firmly believe that it is our job out there to try to protect a lot of these people. Um, that's what we're there for. And I have seen it like he has seen it. Not everybody is meant to be a police officer. One thing that surprised me is the turnover in that profession. Not only people that go in thinking that this is a chance for them to be heavy-handed or play cowboy, or I guess play out an ego trip that they have, but also the damage that this job can do to people that are police officers. The alcoholism, some drug use, the divorce rate is astronomical, and I've had friends take their lives because of everything that they've seen. And because of all these things, my faith has grown, and I believe strongly that I wouldn't be here without the intercession and protection of God. I really do. There's many times that I should have been killed or died, and I went home that day. And to this day, I'm here. I'm retired now. But yes, it affected me in a positive way. All the things that I did see out there.
And then, apart from your personal religion, how are the religions of victims taken into account, if at all? So I'll give you an example. If you have a victim that you're responding to, be it a homicide victim or someone who's alive, and there's different religious practices that are, you know, expected by that person or their family, is that able to be accommodated with police work or not?
Initially, when we respond, it's a hot situation. Okay, it's a life and death situation, especially if somebody gets shot or killed. The first thing we need to do is try to save that person's life. We try to maintain him alive as we if we can until fire rescue gets there, and fire rescue then works on him. So whatever religious principles of preserving whatever the body and stuff, we don't think about that. That's not done. If the person passes away on the scene, again, it's still an active scene. Homicide gets there, they have to conduct an investigation. So the body cannot move, cannot be touched. Nothing can be touched in that scene until that's done, until they finish their investigation. Sometimes the investigation lasts a long time. Once the body is removed, that's a totally different thing. The ME handles it. Again, they have their protocol how to do it. Afterwards, then comes the religious aspect, how you would handle the body. We do not deal with that part of it. To us, it doesn't matter who you are, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, it doesn't. Our job is to render aid, try to save life, and after that, trying to secure a scene and trying to maintain the integrity of an investigation. You follow?
Yeah.
It's a mentality of being a police officer.
I agree. Religion does not really play into our responsibilities. Uh, we show respect towards a body if the person is passed away, and we we will try to accommodate as much as we can. But there are times that we have death that is not natural and has to be investigated. Therefore, that scene cannot be entered, not even by commanding officers that have no business being there. Many times, other officers will come and say, what do you see? What do you have?" And it's like, no, no, stay outside the rope, like they say. Um, when it's a homicide, we have a mission to accomplish. Preserve the scene. If the person's deceased, um, we either leave the body there or we try to cover it. Sometimes, most of the times, the bodies do get covered. The problems arise when families get there and they realize that's their loved one laying on the floor there, and they leave him there, and they're like, "Well, why don't you move him? We cannot do that." There's, to put it bluntly, the mission comes first at that point. Okay, we will try to talk to the family, move them away from the scene, you know, explain to them that there's nothing we can do, and we're here to catch the bad guy or the bad people that did this to their loved ones. Usually, that works pretty well in calming the situation down. You guide them away from the scene. Nobody wants to see their loved one laying there. Sometimes people will, in the time of in that time where they realize what's happened, will try to run towards the body, fight with anybody, and this is one of those times that it becomes an ugly part of our job. And there's people filming, and they say, "Well, why does this cop just grab this person and push him out?" Because if this person happens to kick something as simple as a casing from a gun or move the body, now all of a sudden that crime scene is contaminated, and in the ensuing investigations and all the legal things that occur, if we should ever catch this person, all of a sudden they say, "Well, that is there or that wasn't there because you let these people run into that scene."
It can actually affect the outcome of a case.
A case very, very easily. So in that aspect, in a crime scene, a homicide scene, nobody goes in, regardless of what your religious feelings are or what they are. We'll address it as diplomatically as we can, but the law says this is what we will do, and that's exactly what we will do.
Okay. And then, as kind of on the same idea, I know that you personally have had some experience with death as far as animal deaths and like sacrifice and santeria. I know that that's a very uh, interesting mix in police work, specifically in Miami-Dade. How is that handled?
Well,
A lot of people would a lot of people revolt about animal cruelty and how these deaths happen.
in homicide scenes, I've handled homicide scenes where they've been inside homes, and Santeria, okay, is quite evident. That this is a practitioner, and a lot of people tell you, well, we need to do certain things because of who this person is, his religion, and again, we go back to this is what needs to happen. You cannot go in there, and we will stand at the door, and if there's anybody inside, we will escort them out. The same thing, Santeria. When you get to Haitian voodoo, I worked in Little Haiti for a very, very long time. Uh, I venture to say about 10 years. I worked in Little Haiti, and the similarities are striking. The responses are pretty much across the board from almost anybody. When it comes to the religious things, some people will say they have to do certain things, and we just cannot do it. We cannot sacrifice an investigation at that moment for religious. We told them maybe we could do this later, after the investigation. A lot of times, unfortunately, it cannot be done because the medical examiner, after we arrive, we hold the scene. Homicide does an initial investigation. Okay, they gather information. At the same time, we call the medical examiner's office, who comes, and the medical examiner's, the physician comes, and we strip the body of everything. We try to cover everything so we don't take the clothes off the body in front of everybody, but we check from head to toe where the entry, the exit wounds, and whatever may have happened to this person. Afterwards, that body is transported to the medical examiner's office where they will conduct an autopsy and do all these things. Now, some people say, well, you told me later. Yeah, I did, but after they're finished, we cannot allow you to do any of these things because it's very simple. If there's some kind of injury to that body, well, this person could have done it. The one that you let in, no, we cannot do that. So again, it's a very diplomatic approach that you have to take, and sometimes we need a lot of people on the scene because whole families will come out. Okay, in the Cuban community, the Hispanic community, as well as the Haitian community, and people get very upset. And I can't say I blame them, but you have to talk to these people, calm them down, and explain to them you're trying to do something for their relative.
And you have to keep in mind this, and people forget, Santeria or Palau, whatever,
Palomayo,
it's a protective thing. It's religion. You might not think it's a religion, but it is a religion. Animal sacrifice goes back a very long time. Back in biblical times, Jewish people sacrifice animals in their belief. So what they're doing has been upheld in courts as a religion's freedom. So you have to keep in mind that they have certain rights, but as long as their rights don't interfere with our investigation, and actually they go past what an animal sacrifice should be, you know, like getting animals and throwing in the railroad tracks. That's not acceptable. You got to discard the animals properly, stuff like that. You respect the religion and you respect their rights to practice their religion, but everything has their limits when it comes to your rights. Your rights end where other people's rights begin.
Yeah. I'd like to add something to that. Many, many years ago, I was working as a neighborhood resource officer. Essentially, I dealt with a lot of neighborhood issues. And one person called in and they said that they wanted an investigation into some kind of animal sacrifice occurring in the back of a house. I mean, this is very common, where a shed is put on the back of a house, and that is where these people practice a lot of this religion, where they have a cauldron and they sprinkle blood from chickens and what have you. And this person somehow knew what was going on there, and they wanted that removed, and they wanted these people arrested. And I investigated, and I asked this person, do you practice, Santeria or Palo or whatever? In this case, it happened to be a Cuban man. And he goes, yes, yes. And, he told me, I was born in Cuba, so I know a lot. I know a lot about this because it's part of the culture.
Right.
And aside from that, we do go to school to learn about these things.
Yep.
Haitian voodoo, Palo Mayombe, Santeria, a lot of these things, we actually go to school and learn. If you're Cuban or you're Haitian, you know about these things
The islands.
because it's part of the culture.
Yes.
You grow up and you know about these things. And this particular individual was highly upset about this. And when, again, the ugly answer came back, and I told them there's nothing that can be done to prevent this man from practicing his religion. And the man understood about court cases. He was very well versed, and he volunteered. And he says, listen, when I do kill an animal, my knives are sharp. It's not like a dull knife, which is how one of the cases, local cases, came up where they had a dull knife and they were trying to butcher an animal. So he goes, no, this is how we do things. And, he didn't go into specifics as to why he was doing it. But the ugly answer for this person came out that, no, this is religious and it's protected. In America, you can practice religion. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. This person was highly upset and complained to the higher ups that I didn't do my job. And I told them, this is what we have.
And it's interesting, and then we can move on. But so you know how complicated it's not like, okay, I'm a santero and I can kill it. No, to be able to do sacrifices, you have to go to a different training. It's like you graduate in the religion and you have to go to certain areas where then you can have cuchillo. So now you can actually have cuchillo, and they're taught how to take, sacrificial animals, how to do it correctly for the religion. So it's not like people going out there and killing the chickens. No, that's not how it works.
No, that's
it's
not how
it's
it
a religion.
Works. It's a religion. It's very organized, and it's quite complex. It's not, somebody decided to kill a chicken. Okay, I've seen this in Little Haiti, all the years that I worked there. The different things, the different sacrifices. I saw a lot of this stuff, as well as in the Cuban community,
Right.
and in the Puerto Rican community, and the Venezuelans also practice this.
All right, and then last question. So we're still kind of in the topic of animals. Something that has come up in the class is about how animals have been sort of key figures in a lot of religions and a lot of practices. So, for example, Egyptians had cats who were guardian figures. The Mexicans and the ancient Mexicans, Aztecs and Mayans had Xoloquince, the hairless Mexican dog that was also a guardian. So you could also say that if you have police dogs that are also sort of like a guardian, okay? How are police dogs regarded in a death? Are they regarded as officers and they're given full honors when they pass?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. They are given a full. I mean, if you've never been involved in something, it's something to see. A police dog funeral is just like, almost, not everything is like, but it's pretty close to a funeral of a police officer. Yeah, they got 21 gun salutes. They're buried, or they're ¿cómo se llama eso? They're when the cremation, they're cremated. But the honors are just like a police officer. They are police officers. They have a badge, okay? And those dogs, and people don't understand that. Their whole purpose is to protect their handler, okay? They will give their life for their handler. They're taught that, and they do it. And when they're working, they're a police dog. They're a cop. When they're home, they're just like another one of your family members. They're home. So when one of those dogs died, it touches us. It touches us. And then when you listen to their career and the things they've done during their career, you go, darn, this freaking dog, look what the things they've done for this community. So yes, and Mario can tell you, I mean, I never worked canine before, actually handle a dog, but I worked with canine handlers, and they're very close to their dogs. They are.
Very much so. America in general is a dog culture. We love dogs. We love animals. We have our own dogs here. When you look at canines, I think that's a reflection of society as a whole. our society, where we use these dogs for many purposes. In the past, the dogs have gotten a bad reputation where they were let loose on demonstrators. Okay, especially one comes to mind in the civil rights era of the '60s. A lot of people badmouth dogs. It's not the dog; it's the policies that are the bad policies. However, in my experience, I've done a lot of searches for people hiding in buildings and burglaries and homicides, all these things. And if it weren't for the canines going in and sniffing around, they can smell somebody a mile away. They will go in and point and tell you that that's where the person is, and you would not know the difference. You would have walked right by them or on them and gotten hurt. I've seen canines walk in a field and look at a building and start barking at the building. And at first you're like, what's he barking at? And then the handler realizes the nose is pointing up and the person's in the on the roof. Narcotics, something that's not presented very often. Um, Locating missing people. There are bloodhounds that we use, and I've seen them used many times, and they're really incredible animals. A bloodhound will track um, when you give them a piece of clothing from the person you're looking at, whether it be a child or an adult, which I've seen them do both. A bloodhound will track all the way to the last point where this person was, and from there you can pretty much figure out where this person went. I'm remembering one instance where an elderly man, he was like late 80s and had Alzheimer's. Well, he decided to walk out and he walked around the neighborhood, and then right about West Flagler Street, about 53rd Avenue, we lost the track. And we lost the track right at a bus stop. No problem. We called MTA and we started asking all the drivers, "Did you see this?" And one guy says, "Yeah, I think I picked him up on Flagler somewhere." We looked at the video on the bus, and sure enough, that's who it was. And we saw where he got off. So we went from Flagler and 53rd all the way to Deep Coconut Grove where he got off, and that's where we found the man wandering around. So dogs have a lot of uses: explosives, narcotics, protection, quite a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we value them quite a bit.
And technically, in police work, all over the world, a dog is a tool. That's what they're supposed to be. If you talk to Israelis and you, I mean, some of the things they say for dogs, what they have to do, they say, well, the dogs is to sacrifice the animal and protect the handler or the military guy. When they're looking for improvised explosives, they send the dogs out. That's great. The dog is a tool. But when we deal with dogs here as police officers, it's more than a tool. They're a partner. So I understand it's a tool, but we're going to protect our dogs too. We're not, to us, understood it's a tool, but it's not. They're our partners.
So is there anything else that you guys want to add before we close?
No, you've been very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Listen, if nothing else, people need to understand as we move on in the modern world, okay? Policing is always going to be policing. The main point of policing is going to be the same. Tactics, the tools are going to be modernized. There will be some say we'll be flying out in police cars flying in the air, whatever the heck you want to create it. But the actual police officer, what makes a police officer, is going to be the same. Your love for your community and the willing to go out there and expose yourself to danger for the people you serve. That will never change. That will never change. And it takes, I'm not hitting my chest. So I'm not. I've never been into that. I don't. But it takes a particular person to do this job. Not everybody can do it. Like I said, it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're not able person to do other things. It takes a person that can actually compartmentalize things and be able to put them away. Like what you see at work, you shouldn't bring to home. That creates problems at home. It's a special person to put that box, put it away in the police car, and then go home and be a father, be a husband, and then the next day you can come back and open up that box again and start dealing with what you left. You follow? And we see a lot of things, but the main thing is 99% of the cops out there are there to help people. Are there bad cops? Absolutely. Are there bad attorneys? Yes. Are there bad doctors? 100%. There's bad in everything. But I can tell you this, when it comes to first responders as a rule, okay, they'll do it for the money. Not at all. Money is great. Getting compensated for what you do is absolutely great. But you do it because of the belief that you're making a difference. That's why you become a cop.
I agree. I spent all the time in the police force, and I can honestly tell you, there were some times that I was like, I would come and do this for free, almost. Obviously I needed money, but this, I believe, is something that you were born with. You have to have something within yourself, your psyche, your soul that drives you to this. Just like a doctor, it takes a special type of person to be able to open up somebody's chest and work on their heart and not really go crazy. I'm sure it's not pleasant. I've seen it, but it takes a special person. So yes, I agree. Not everybody can handle this job. A lot of people wash out within. I venture to say a lot of people that shouldn't be here or be in the job within the first 3 years they wash out. And the only other problem with it is when you're in the job for many years, you're gonna see too many things, and that's what causes a lot of problems: mental illness, alcohol, and alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and a lot of other issues with officers. But if you ask me today, would I do it again? Yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing, I always wanted to use this. This is a line I love. Tom Cruise, the last movie, when he's talking to a general and they tell him, "You've been in the Air Force for all these years. You've been on all this, and you're a hot dog," or whatever he said. You're obsolete. We're modernizing the Air Force, right? Your kind is coming to an extinction. And Tom Cruise looks at him and goes, "You might be right, but not today." Not today.
That was good. That was good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for everything.
All right.
Your service.
Take care. Bye bye.